Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each episode is a journey of discovery into the many facets of our connections to love, oneness, and the human spirit. I'm Lisa LaRose, and I'm so delighted you're here. Each episode is an invitation to explore who we truly are and to reconnect with the essence of loving kindness. And I'm so happy to be sharing this journey with my amazing co-host, Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael. It's such a delight.
Thanks. Oh, man, I love being here. I love being here, and I love participating in this awesome conversation that we have every week. Just phenomenal. And the guests we have are even more phenomenal. And I'm always learning something new. There's always something new. There's always a transition coming, and we're in the midst of a new transition. And it's not by, in my view, any kind of coincidence that we have Donna on and we have Carol Collins on at the right time, at the divine time. Our divine timing is perfect. Each and every time they're on, what the teachers say and what the non-physical beings, the ascended masters and archangels and other angels and guides need to say to us when these guests come on is absolutely perfect with regard to timing and where we are in the world today. And to me, that's not only enlightening, but it's wonderful to learn something new when they come on.
Without a doubt, Michael. I can only tell you that my mind has been reeling. I think both Carol and Donna both said they spoke about a 10-year time frame when things were going to shift, where we were going to be experiencing a different reality than what we are currently in. And I re-listened to both of the episodes probably several times because there were so much that I wanted to anchor in. And I feel so blessed because I sort of feel like each one of the insights that both of them shared are sort of pointing us to something even greater. And I think that part of it is that we're being invited to remember who we really are, that we are not just spiritual beings, but that we are divine ones. And I was thinking about it, you think about the expression, to err is human, to forgive is divine. And I was thinking about what Carol was speaking about, how we're going to be letting go of some of the strife, that we are going to be letting go of sarcasm, we're going to be letting go of a lot of the things and stepping more into joy so that as divine humans we can love fearlessly and know that we have a choice to a different future. And I was so excited about it. And I think that was one of the things they said, choosing love because we're already whole, choosing love because that's who we are. And that's sort of what I think that being divine is all about. I don't know if there were some certain things that inspired you from both of those episodes, Michael, that you want to revisit or share. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Probably. Thank you so much, and a wonderful, wonderful comment there. The thing that struck me most with last week's Cheryl Collins episode was the fact that they were getting across, the teachers were getting across that we have been operating from law of attraction for eons, and it's time to transition away from law of attraction and towards divine inspiration to create versus law of attraction. And we were with law of attraction, we were arranging our thoughts and exposing ourselves to things that would attract to our grid, would stick. Okay, we'd expose things to our grid that we wanted, and then add excitement and passion, and boom, there you go. Right, you've got law of attraction creating for you in life, and divine inspiration is something completely different. And I love the distinction between the two, and how there is a transition point that we're in right now to divinely inspire ourselves, right? To divinely inspire ourselves to move forward and to manifest what it is that we want with intention, with greater intention, through that divine inspiration. That, to me, that sticks, and that's it's how I am beginning to operate, because law of attraction is everywhere. I mean, it started out with The Secret, right? That was law of attraction way back when, right? That was like 40 years ago. And so now we're looking at a transition away from that. We're divine beings, and it's time for us to step into that role as divine beings and to begin to exercise our life through our own connection with divinity, with our own divinity, where we come from. And like you were just saying, we're divine beings, incarnate to experience this earthly realm in any way we choose. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the personality and ego of being here, right? Because there is structure here that's been designed and created to keep us focused on something other than our own divinity and why we're here, and an actual power that we possess, the power we possess to create our reality, to live from something different, to live from love versus the hate, anger, the separation, the stress, the fight, the struggle in life. It just fascinates me to think about that and think how I fit into all that, how I can shift my life, continue to shift my life, because this is a continual process. It's a process of transformation. To shift my life, my thoughts, to align with that, if that makes sense to you, to align with living from divinity, divine inspiration versus anything else. I'm excited about that personally going forward, and have been all week since you said it.
I completely agree with you, Michael. It's amazing. And I don't know if you remember the episode that we did with Carol where she talked about the concept of dreamscaping and that we could actually shape our awakened reality through imagination and choices. And so if we can consciously shape our dreams, this landscape, this dreamscape, how I kept thinking about that, like how much more can we consciously shape every aspect of our waking reality so that we can experience that divinity, that highest expression of ourselves. And it goes back to the power of choice and what it is that we choose for ourselves. And yesterday I hadn't been planning on listening to a master class, but I happened to tune into one that was with Esther Perel. She's a psychotherapist, and I'd not heard of her. And it was really interesting to see how she approached relationships, not just in the workplace, but also in family dynamics. And she spoke about the need to be right, and that sometimes we try to soften something where we will say, even though you're going to break up with somebody, you start bringing up all these good points. But she said that what happens is the brain, the only thing that the person can hear is the but, because they're anticipating all of these other opposite or positive things that are going to come after the flood of compliments. And it made me sort of think about how our minds engage, and we're already at that point. And so how do we transition from, if we're going to dreamscape the best version of ourselves, how do we kind of transcend and skip past that but? I'm not really sure how we liberate ourselves from that fear and that smallness, but I think that somehow it has something to do with our divinity. That somehow when we connect with that inner power, that inner strength, the inner love, the truth of who we are, we're no longer limited by that, and we can step out of that constricting fear and step into something greater, into that greatest expression of our humanness, to live that highest, best, mightiest version of who we're meant to be. And I know that I'm going to re-listen to that episode on dreamscaping because I want to anchor it in, and I want to, if we have a 10-year window of shifting where we can continually improve, at least for me anyway, my own self-mastery exploration, I am going to do everything I can to make that a sort of a smooth transition. How about you, Michael?
Well, I'm going to go back to something which you just said there about, how do we do this? And it's what came to my mind was that when it comes to choice, which is, the choices we make, which is what you were just talking about, I thought of how most people, the average person, chooses to participate in and dedicate energies to things and people and events and circumstances that are disconnected from divinity, disconnected from love, disconnected from compassion and joy. And you say, how do we do this? I always think in terms of, okay, how can I align my life? When aligning your life means you got to make different choices. You have to choose not to, engage with and dedicate time and invest in people and circumstances that are lower frequency oriented, right? And it's like okay, I got a choice to go to a movie. I can go to a movie that's made of love and joy and compassion and empathy, or I can go to a movie that is reeking with lower frequencies, anger and death and murder and killing and maiming. You got this choice. Which one of those two things makes you feel better? Which one of them is aligned with fun and joy and love? And that's really the kind of choices, in my view, that we have to start structurally making to align ourselves with the divinity that we are as divine beings. And that's where it's kind of like this. It's not what new thing you do. It's the thing you decide not to do any longer. Practically speaking, we're making choices that aren't aligned with who we are in essence, because those choices, they feel good. We're going to make, I think it was Bashar that said, you're going to make choices that are aligned with feeling good versus what's actually good for you. So it may feel better for you to be in a relationship that is not healthy for you than to step into the unknown, not knowing what you're going to get. Where you are is not good for you, yet you're going to stay there because it's comfortable, because you know it. And that really was, that to me is the crux of what we need to be thinking about when it comes to reliving living from the person that we really are, the divine being that we are, that can live from sovereignty and connection and make choices that are aligned with our own innate powers that we have to create the reality that we know we want for ourselves. And for every one of us, that reality is an unknown. We don't know what it feels like to be there, which is the same thing that's holding us back. Because we want something, we want to be in a place, yet we aren't there yet. The empirical evidence isn't in front of us, staring us in the face. So until that happens, it's always going to be a maybe, a perhaps. It's always going to be at arm's length from us based on that, because we have to bring ourselves into that picture. So in terms of choices, I'm making choices that are every day to drop things from my life that don't align with the divinity that I know I seek to fully live from. There's some things you're not going to be able to drop, but those you have to walk a fine line between attempting to control another person or a situation and circumstance. There is that. If you're not if you're with someone who's not connected to their own divinity and you are seeking to be more connected to your divinity, you're going to be making different choices than that person is going to be making. Would you agree?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yet you love and care for that particular individual. So you have to, there's a fine line you walk between wanting something for someone so badly that you attempt to control, which is then again not a good thing. right? Because we're not here to control other beings. We're here to control everything about ourselves, our own mind, our own body, our own spirit, that connection we have. So, I mean, there are people out there that they're listening to this that have family that's not connected or aligned to what they believe with regard to who they are and where they came from, the connection to divinity that they're seeking to deepen. But the circumstance they're in is one that is counter to that. They have to engage with people that they love in a way that is where it is from their perspective, they're making divine choices to be loving, to be compassionate and empathetic, and to listen. But you have to draw this boundary around yourself with things that you won't participate in, things you prefer not to because they're not aligned with the divinity that you are, and again, seeking to deepen. I know I went off on a diatribe there, but I want to bring this down to a practical. Yeah, a practical circumstance. You know, we have to get up every morning and live a life, right? We support ourselves. We're in the system. I mean, Lord knows, I would love to sell everything and go to an island somewhere and be able to grow my own fruits and vegetables. And I mean, that dream is out there. I think everybody's thinking about that ever since everybody's seen that movie. But practically speaking, some people have student debt. Some people have other kind of debt. So you got a world you have to live in, and you have to figure out how to meld your own divinity into the world that you're living in by making choices that align with that in every possible way that you can, so that you can practically practice what it is that we are talking about.
And I think you're right, Michael. I have some friends. I mean, I was very fortunate. I was like Donna. There were a lot of things that I explored that were very accepted. But if you remember in Sarah Landon's experience, she grew up in a family that was fundamentalist Christian, where things were not as easily accepted. And so she had to sort of step aside and continue following what she knew in her heart. And I don't know Bashar's background other than the fact that he was in entertainment, but he always would say your highest excitement is your compass of your higher self. And if you follow it, that's how your divine self guides you. And so sometimes exactly that, you have to have enough self-love to say, even though it may not be accepted by the group of individuals that I'm friends with at the moment, I can find another tribe, and I don't necessarily have to exclude those other people from my life, but there may be a point where they do sort of fall away. And you have to understand that that's part of your journey and that you will always hold that love for them. But sometimes things just change. And sort of when I was growing up like you, it was very normal for me to pick up and move. We moved almost every other year. And so I was very adept at being adaptable, and I still hold a lot of those people in my heart that I grew up with, but I was never ingrained in the same environment for very, very long.
Right.
And
we
so
share
I think, that. And so I think that sort of lends to that, where you and I sort of have that self-love. We had to develop that at an early age, where we were able to say, you know what, I love myself no matter what environment I'm in. And you can take that and apply it to every aspect of your world where you are. And I had somebody say that to me actually just the other day. They were saying they wanted to leave the city because they felt that would be the best thing for them. And I said, well, you're still going to need to find a job, and you have a network here that can support you. And right now, until you get yourself stabilized, and I said, happiness is not a destination. You're not going to be happier because you're moving to another place. You may find you have more challenges, and I'm not dissuading you from going somewhere else, but I really think you need to find the happiness within, and that connects to that divinity, finding that love for yourself. You're not going to find it somewhere else by moving to another place. It has to do with the internal work.
Yeah, I know. I agree 110%. we have a very similar background with regard to moving every other year, every couple of years. So we come up with a different vision of life, and we're not as fearful of the unknown as some people who might have lived in the same town for 20, 30, 40 years, and then maybe move out or move away, or just basically a teenager that leaves at 18 to go to college somewhere out of town and live there. Right? There's a whole they're leaving an ecosystem that they're very familiar with, that is aligned with their own feelings about themselves and their life, and they're leaving to go to an ecosystem that they are completely and totally it's a complete unknown, right? And so you and I developed a love for ourselves and a compassion and a joy that we lived from regardless of where we were. And we made a lot of friends, and I agree with you. I have friends that in every school I ever went to, from a number of elementary schools to 3 high schools, whatever. I have friends that I made then and there. And what I considered it is, I considered it an opportunity to explore, meet new people, make new friends, have experiences at that particular time based on where I was, get out and explore. And then, at some particular point, we all knew it was going to be over. It's just a matter of when your dad gets the orders, and then you know what specific date that will be. But you live every day to the best of your absolute ability. You live it every day. You engage every day. You explore the people and the circumstances and the area, geographic location that you're in, as if you were there forever. And it's not like you go around thinking, I got to do this today because I'm going to be gone in a year and a half. It's not that. It's that you immerse yourself. Really, the word I'm looking for. You immerse yourself in your environment, and you just jump in with both feet, all 4 limbs, as I said last week. You get in, and you experience it. And if you experience it, I'll give you an example. I lived in Turkey for 3 years, and I went to a high school there that only had, I think, there were only 360 kids from kindergarten through graduate, through 12th grade. So there was a very small pool of students in quote unquote high school, the last 4 years of their early education. So we all depended upon each other for a lot of different things. We got to know each other. We understood that there could be no long-term, so to speak, distrust or dislike for someone. You learned how to trust yourself, and you basically engage with people. And if there was some disagreement or whatever, you stop engaging with them for a while, and within a few weeks to a month, you'd come back together and talk about it, or however you worked it out, and you just moved forward. That's just the way it was. You couldn't afford to. I'm striking you out of my life forever. In those days, right? So I like the fact that we operated from our highest excitement. That's what we did, right? And I know you agree with me. You agree with me, and that makes it easier for us to do it now. But for everybody else who has kind of drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, and done everything and took, adopted all the thought viruses that are out there for how you should be a good little consumer, and you need to get yourself in debt is good, and buy the house and do all these things, and you have to have this kind of job, you have to make this kind of money, and all those 3D things get in the way. And now all of a sudden you're alert and aware of the fact that you have more power than you thought you had. Maybe where you have more control of your life than you ever could possibly imagine, and which is the place we're coming from. This is your divinity. It allows you to tap into. It's just one leg on a 3-leg chair that supports you and moves you forward. The other two being body and mind and body. So this mind-body-spirit connection that you have, it allows you to connect with yourself and the reality of who you really are in a way, as a non-physical being in human form, experiencing this life and making choices that are hopefully are aligned with why you're here, the purpose of your incarnation, so to speak, and to create this exciting masterpiece of love and compassion and empathy and joy and happiness and all those things, higher frequencies that you already have within you, but maybe have covered up or just set aside. You reconnect with them again.
I love that. And Michael, when you were speaking about being where you were in Turkey, it reminded me of a macrocosm almost of being here in this vessel, this body that we're in. We're only here for a short time. We forget about that. And even though you were in that physical place for a short time and you made the best of every moment, and I mean, I think if you could extend that 1 year into a lifetime, and it sort of is. It's sort of like we have these bodies. They're magnificent vessels, but they're not the limit of who we are. They're an expression of our deeper, timeless presence, and there is something that goes beyond this form, and I think that is that divinity. There is an intelligent field of consciousness that we are all connected to, whether we're aware of it or not. It's here. And we tap into it. I mean, some of the things sometimes in my dream state, I had a dream the other night, and I was tapping into Jean-Paul Sartre. And I'm like thinking to myself, I don't even know the first thing about Jean-Paul Sartre, but I was getting so much specific information, and I still have yet to investigate that. I don't know what that means, but it really is important. But it's sort of like there's this frequency beyond the form. There's this intelligent field of consciousness that I'm connecting to. But I love what you said, that when we connect to that love, we have these moments of deep love. Yes, you may have had conflict with somebody, but guess what? There were other things that were more important. There was beauty in the surroundings. There was the fun that you had. There was the discovery of the things that you did. And so we catch these glimpses of these moments in time, these parts of ourselves. And we have to remember that it's all still here. That even though you were in that moment in time in Turkey, you took those lessons. You took all of those different things evolved into who you are today, into each one of us, no matter what that experiences are. Every experience is different. My experience with moving is the same thing. I mean, I had these gifts of friendship. I still have a little box of notes that I had from the 6th grade when we would pass notes under the chairs. And one of my friends, her name was Marina Podruchny. She was a Ukrainian. She drew some of the funniest cartoons ever. I mean, she could have been a Mad Magazine cartoon artist because her humor and her art was so great. And I still have them locked into a little box, a little metal box, and that was from 6th grade. But they're a part of that memory, those moments in time. They were precious to me then, and they still are precious to me now. And I still have them folded up, and then I'll unfold them and I'll read them, and I'll start to laugh. But it's just, I think it's just that connection. I know.
The person you were is different than obviously different than who you are now. And that person doesn't exist anymore. That person hasn't existed. The concept of us of living in this moment, because the last moment that we're in, it's gone. Life is like you're living in this present moment, and you basically have a time capsule or two of the person you used to be, and that's why you're giggling. Of course,
I
because
do.
It's interesting. I don't. What's unique is what I have now is my journals from journaling that I did back in 25, 30, 40 years ago when I started, and I found that every time I had some challenges in my life, one way or another, I would start journaling and just to get everything out of my head, right? And that's what got me through those times, is being able to kind of put everything down on paper, what I was feeling, what I was thinking, conversations that I know I needed to have, and I sort of scripted out those conversations so that they would intuited them on paper first, and then I was able to have more confidence when I had the actual conversation with whomever it was. And so every time I was in a divorce situation, I would write and write and write, and I go back and I look every once in a while and I go, hey, who is that person? That person is so far gone that I don't even there's no way I can connect myself to that. It's almost like when I changed my handwriting. I started writing a different way in alignment with Vimala Rogers' alphabet, and I could tell that. And one of the things I did, pivotal things I did, was change the way I signed my name. And because I used to let the last three letters of my last name just kind of trail off in a line, right? And Vimala looked at my handwriting and she said, "You know what this is, right? Like you just lose yourself. You're losing yourself. By you put an R there, but the rest of it is a squiggly line. There's no USS. It's not defined, right? And so I changed the way I wrote every letter, and I committed to the point where I went to the bank. I changed my signature card at the bank. I changed my driver's license signature. I went and got a new driver's license. I changed everything, right, to this new thing. And I will tell you right now, there's no way in the world that I can sit down. I don't care how much time you gave me, where that old signature could come out of me. It won't happen. My hands, I could not get that signature. I couldn't copy it. That person doesn't exist anymore. And it was pretty darn amazing. And that's pretty much what she teaches, is that there's a connection between your left and right brain and your hand. Your hand is sort of a function of there's a connection there. And if you want to be more creative, write backwards. If you want to write with a non-dominant hand, which is a really cool thing, to do her alphabet in a non-dominant hand. Which I did for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
It's very, very interesting. If you change one thing about yourself, it's connected to who you are. And when you align yourself more with who you are, there's no way you go back to the other person. You can't change that because you're new now. You're this person, not that person. So how that relates to what we're talking about, which interestingly enough is, in my view, when you connect to your divinity, when you start making decisions, divinely guided decisions, decisions that are aligned with your heart, which is your energy field here that you operate from, that keeps you alive and vibrant, that is based in love, you aren't going to be able to, and you start doing that, it's going to feel unlike you to think another way. That is really the point I'm making. When you start operating from love, love is the foundation of every decision and every thought. You're not going to be so easy. It's not going to be so easy to make decisions that aren't based in love, because you've changed. You've transformed. You've evolved beyond that, and it's going to feel different, not so good. It's not going to be. You're really going to feel it in your heart and in your body. It's going to manifest physically. You're not going to be able to align with the person you were, who wasn't operating from love. Now, we talk about a new earth. We've talked about that in the past, in a couple of episodes ago. Zero. Was it Zero Earth we're talking about?
Zero
Earth Zero?
yeah.
Earth Zero.
Earth Zero, which was Bashar's.
Earth Zero, New Earth. And to me, this is what they're talking about, is that when you start making decisions from divinely guided decisions that are connected to your higher self, your guides, your angels, your oversoul, however you want to refer to it, that decisions you know in your heart are the right decision, right? Because it's aligned with who you are and the essence of you, divine essence of you. Then you're literally going to not only feel awesome about who you are and where you are and the decisions that you're making, but you're going to approach them in a different way. And that's the new earth that they're talking about. So people who you're around now that don't make decisions along that course, they will kind of separate from you. They'll migrate from you. And new people will migrate towards you. The people who are aligned with the way you make decisions and how you're operating from love. Just simply say love. If you're the people who are with you now, who are friends of yours, family, whatever, that aren't operating from love, you'll distance. It'll be a distance that's created between you and the people who are. That's the old earth for you. The new earth for you is people who are aligned with what you're thinking and the choices and decision-making processes paradigms of love that you've adopted for yourself, and the divine connection and the divine guidance that you decided to operate from. Those people aligned with that will connect with you, and that'll be your new earth. You won't even see the other side of it. It's like, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years. Why is that the case? We used to be so close. Because you're operating from a different paradigm than they are now. Right. And that's it. They've gone off and you both evolved in different ways. And the ways aren't aligned anymore. And the other thing, too, if it's just from a soul perspective, that people, in my view, people are in our lives for us to help them and them to help us. Whatever that time frame is. It could be a few moments. It could be 10 years. Right? And, it's just when people I come across go, I used to be with this person and we used to have such a great time 10 years ago. Right? We used to go out and party and enjoy ourselves and go do this thing, go do that thing. We had a great time. Well, you've shifted your thought paradigm, and they've shifted their thought paradigm, or they've remained in that thought paradigm. Right? It's not for you to say why that's the case, but you're not with them anymore because you served each other's purpose at the time to support each other, whatever that might have been. Nobody's going to know. I'm not privy to it, and most people aren't even privy to why someone's in their life. But that was the time frame you were supposed to connect with them, and it's over.
Right.
Have
you ever gone to?
Right?
Yeah, it's like going to a restaurant and it's your favorite restaurant, and then the owner sells it, and even though they sell all the recipes, it's just not quite the same. But there's new people who discover that restaurant that really enjoy it, and you find something new,
good analogy.
Something new that resonates with you. And
that has happened many times.
I know.
Spot on with that. I like that analogy. That's as good as the broken chair analogy of last week. I love that.
I did. I like that too. I did.
It was awesome.
That too.
Why are you, if you wouldn't sit in a broken chair, why are you in a broken life? Why are you in a broken this and broken that? Why are you still there? Why are you still doing that thing? It's broken.
I had to laugh, though, because as I was re-listening to the show, I was sitting in a chair that's an antique, and I need to reupholster it. And I thought, well, is this broken? Am I really sitting in a broken chair? And I thought,
hilarious.
I really need to get I have the fabric. I have everything I need to do. I just need to make the time to do it, because I'm like, I don't really want to sit in a broken chair. Because what am I bringing into my consciousness? Yeah, but it just so funny.
I get you.
It won't take me very long to do it because it's just the seat. But yeah, exactly that. I thought, geez, I don't know. And Michael, one of the things that you reminded me of, because I always go back to Abraham Hicks, when you follow what feels good, you're aligning with who you've always been. And I think that that's part of this whole thing, that we tune into these different parts of ourselves. And sometimes we get that soul yes, where you just are like, yes, this is what I want to do. And one of the things, I think it was Donna that said that everybody who falls away from us is eventually going to get there. They're just going to find their path a different way, and that's okay.
Right.
And I
That's
really
beautiful.
love that, because when we were speaking about Earth Zero, you think, well, it's not a place that you go to. It's this evolving. And I think that's where a lot of the dissonance and the fear comes in, that we're leaving these other people behind. How can we bring them along? Well, we don't have to carry and bring them along. They'll find their own path. It's just that this field, whatever it is, that there's going to be a resonance that resonates with them. And I think some of it has to do with the heart, the field of the human heart. As the heart math has said, it's not this muscle that we think of. It's a transmitter and receiver, that there is resonance and feeling and love, things that we emit from our heart, compassion, joy, all of that. And that's what we're sending out, and that's what we're bringing back in. And so whatever, love looks different to different people. There was a really funny spoof on the cover of a romance novel, and of course the man is bare-chested, and he's got the woman in a tender embrace, and the caption said, "You're hot." And as she's looking into his eyes, the caption next to her says, "Thanks. My human shell is a temporary expression of source creation animated by intelligent design according to the geometric principles of the Fibonacci sequence." And I had to laugh, because it just summed up the expression of the language of love, and how sometimes energetically things can be different, and how are we aligning ourselves. We all speak differently, and I think that as we sort of drop into this awareness that whatever we're generating, we will receive. It sort of flows through this channel of this open heart. And I'm not really sure exactly how each one of us will find our journey. I guess when we get in 10 years, you and I will be looking back and going, wow, wasn't this crazy? Wasn't this amazing? Got rid of that broken chair. Looking forward to bringing something
Got rid of that broken chair. I love that, though. Choose things that are sturdy. Choose situations and circumstances that are sturdy, not broken. And it seems so simple. It's just hilariously simple that you wouldn't put yourself in a situation that was broken, that was disjointed, that was out of alignment with who you are. And yet we do, on occasion, do that, and I was starting to write down here that early in life we do what other people tell us we should be doing based on what their experiential wisdom is. That's what we do. At some point, you transition. You realize and recognize that you were being told things, and you were basically being controlled to go here and to go there, by our parents. Your parents were guiding you in the best way that they knew how, based on what they knew. And if they didn't know how to love, then they didn't teach you how to love. And if they did know deep love and hugging and understanding and compassion and empathy and all of that, then they taught that to you. They gave you examples of how to be kind to other people, because they wanted you to be a kind person. And there's the opposite of that, the interesting thing, again, the book Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton helped me to kind of gain a different perspective about things that go on in people's lives, why people are the way they are. And that is because they're here to learn something, and you don't know what that is. They're here as a soul to have an experience, and they have a pre-incarnation. They decided what that experience was going to be. And that experience may not have been a joyful, loving, kind, relationship, connection-driven existence for a while. Okay? It may have been that. I don't know that. I can't judge. I'm not here to judge why someone's where they are. I have to respectfully as long as I operate from kindness and love and compassion and empathy, great. I mean, you can say anything with those four words attached if you're feeling that, right? You don't have to judge someone as, that poor person. Well, you know what? Maybe they chose that experience to learn something. Their soul needed to create a shift, and they wanted to do it in that way. I'll go back to this. I might have said this in a previous podcast, but one of my best friends from high school died at 50. Yeah, it's about 50, 51. And he died of a brain tumor. And when I visited him, he showed me the radiation mask he had to wear when they gave him radiation and all that. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is the most pain. He said, man, it's painful, beyond painful. And I'm going, really? He says, yeah, it's beyond. The mask is they put your face, they create this mask for you, and then they put it over your face when you're laying down, and they attach the mask so your head doesn't move. Mm-hmm. And then they have to do this procedure of radiation, targeted radiation. I mean, oh man, wow! And then we had some fun experiences. I attempted to do everything we could to normalize things and operate from love and listen. And we went to the class reunion together. I said I will fly out and we will go to this class reunion together. And he wasn't feeling kind of good about himself, but I said, I will tell you what, I will bet you your life that there is love at this event that you don't even know exists. And we went and we closed the doors on this hotel, literally.
I bet.
So many
That's
people
beautiful.
were so loving. Oh my God, it was the most loving night I think I've ever experienced in my entire life. Everyone knew who he was. He was there for all 4 years of high school. I was only there for a year and a half. But everybody knew him and wondered what had happened to him. And they were so compassionate and so loving, not judging. And after he passed, I said, I asked a gal to connect with him and ask him why he had to pass in such a painful way. And he said it's because he wanted to experience deep love, and that painful way is what he chose. He chose to experience love through pain, to be loving in spite of the pain. I mean, I don't know. You choose that kind of experience. I'm not choosing that kind of experience, but the bottom line is you don't know why somebody is. We always say, oh, how sad, how this, how that. I mean, it's not sad. It's just basically, it's lovingly. That's what they chose, and that's the experience they're having here. And there is their soul's going through a transformation and an evolution as a result of that experience. That's it.
Right.
I'm happy for them. Yeah.
I was going to say it's part of his divinity. It's that timeless part of ourselves, and that timeless part of himself. Whether it was his higher self, his soul, his source energy, it existed before this physical life. As you said, he chose that, and that aspect of him will continue. And the fact that he wanted to know such a grand love, I'm sure it elevated the frequency of the planet because of what he chose to, whether you want to call it sacrifice, whatever the experience was. It elevated the consciousness of the planet because it made it possible for every person that was there not only to reflect on that, and then everybody that told that story, everybody who's hearing the story now, Michael, it's powerful. I mean, my brother went through the same type of radiation. He didn't have the same outcome as your friend. He's still here on this earth plane, but I remember the trauma and how difficult it was for him. But I look at my brother when he coaches children and the aspects and how he leaves that part of him behind and the gifts that we share. And I think that's all part of that elevating that consciousness. And How do we transcend those limitations that sometimes keep us stuck, the fear? And who knows, maybe he did have a fear of fully opening himself up to receive love.
Yeah, right. You never can tell. I mean, I think I reflect back on it from time to time, and when I think about him, and that he was doing something, he had chosen something that would scare the heck out of most people, and to maintain his love for himself and for everyone around him in the midst of that experience, that's pretty powerful stuff. That's pretty powerful stuff. He never got angry at himself. Always, he was a big NASCAR fan, and he did, what was in alignment with his highest excitement, which was that he enjoyed it. He enjoyed seeing races and going to races when he could before he had his illness. We have these choices that we can make, and if we keep it simple, and we understand that the unknown is part of why we're here, to experience the unknown. Because how incredible would life be if the only thing you were experiencing is what you already knew? Mm-hmm. You're not going to grow without exposing yourself to something that is completely unknown to you. Even what we're talking about. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, we're talking about a lot of things, concepts, ideas, and things of that nature that are foreign to you. And all I can say is, I know Lisa and I did the same exact thing. We dove into we developed a voracious appetite for any literature, any books, any people who were guided to us to help us along the way. That is really it. And as someone said recently, I think it was even Donna Bell that said it a couple of weeks ago, that the answers that you seek, or if you have a question about your life or whatever, those answers can come from anywhere. It could come from a text that you get from an unknown source. You may get Abraham's 14-minute YouTube segment from Abraham that shows up on your phone out of the blue. You think it's out of the blue, but it's not out of the blue. And that invariably, when I listen, it's aligned with what I'm thinking about. It's aligned with what I'm asking myself. It's aligned with the direction I'm going. And the numbers I see, the 222s, the 777s, the other numbers that I see after I meditate, or when I have a thought about my connection to, my angels and my spirit, and how and whatever divine inspiration that has come to me. Something happens. It could come in a television commercial. It could come on a billboard. It could come anywhere. That answer is there in front of you. You just have to open your mind and to the way it could arrive. I guess that's the best way to put it. Someone could make a comment to you. Yeah, I make comments to people all the time, and they come back to me and go, "That timing was perfect." I had it the other day with somebody. Yeah.
You think, why did I say that? Why did that just come out of my mouth? It just does. Yeah. Sometimes it does. And you know that. I was going to say, you just have to trust. You have to just trust the unknown, and that whatever is meant to unfold, it'll unfold. And I think that that's part of our divinity. It's part of our timeless nature, that we have to know that love is our foundation. And sometimes, as you said, you'll be in the right place, and sometimes you'll just be in a checkout line, and you might say something to somebody like, "Wow, you look really nice today." And the person, I've had this happen to me, say to me, "Oh my goodness, I really wasn't feeling very good about myself. Thank you so much. It really made a difference to me."
Yeah.
And so
when a stranger says it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
It is. I think that, and that's part of where we are on this planet right now, that we are reconnecting with that timeless self, that divinity. And Divinity doesn't mean that it's perfection. It's not that I'm walking around like an angel. I'm enjoying my walks in the morning and nature and different things and my imperfections. But I think that divinity is your presence. It's that desire to bring joy to your heart, to the hearts of other people, to live in love and to connect. And anything else you'd like to add to that, Michael?
Well, simply put, when you're saying that, is that when you do things, say things, when you engage with people in situations and circumstances, when you're making choices that are aligned with love, that make you feel the joy, that make you that bring the joy and the happiness and the love within you that's already there in abundance out into the open. When you feel it, when you're connected with something and you do something, experience something that actually makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, just makes you feel different than anything else, then you know when it excites you, you know you're in the right spot. You're connected with something that is aligned with your divinity. That's the way I would put it for myself. In terms of that's where you know that you're connected to something, and you have to pay attention to what makes you feel that way, what makes you feel loving, what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel excited, which makes you feel passion for whatever it is, excitement. I mean, it's once you know that and you connect to it, you have to go back to it and reconnect. And if it no longer elicits that out of you, there's something else. Maybe you progress to something else. Maybe there's something else that has taken over. As Bashar says, if that doesn't excite you, you get two things. Which one excites you the most? Do that one.
Do that one.
It's not rocket science.
Mm-hmm.
You do that one. Yeah.
Yep.
And then if something else excites you, do that. Keep doing that. And I've understood that the flow of happiness, the flow of joy in your life, the flow of there's a reason why you do that. And the reason why you do that is simply because it's part of manifestation. When you feel awesome about yourself and your life, you feel loving of yourself, you feel that love flowing for yourself, you feel that love flowing for everything around you, and you're experiencing that joy and all of that energy put out into the universe brings back to you everything that you want, because it already exists. It's like you're outside a window of a store, and you're going, instead of thinking lack, like that's in there and I'm out of here and I got to do this to get that, think of yourself, oh, I love that. I love that. I love me in that. I would love to be in that thing, so I love that. I love that. I would have a lot of fun with that. Remember what the teachers are always saying? I love it. I love this. I'd have great fun with that. I'm having joy in life right about now, and that feeling that you're outside looking in, but you've got this real high energy impact of love and excitement that's going on, and it's almost what happens is the glass between you dissolves, and now you're there. You have those things. You mean in physical form. They're already there in metaphysical form. If everything you'd ever want is just right there, all you got to do is align your frequency of fun and joy and happiness and love and connection and all that. You align it with that, and it draws it to you. Exactly what you want, and actually better than what you want. Better than what you could ever want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that,
the
Michael.
It's
vision. A beautiful, beautiful. It is. It's a reminder.
I appreciate
you're not small or powerless. I mean, everybody that's listening to the show, you are a magnificent divine being with extraordinary potential. And I love being on the show with you too, Michael. And I'm so grateful that each and every one of you that are listening to Connect to Love here on PRN FM are enjoying this journey of discovery with us, because the show is completely unscripted. We never know what's going to unfold. And so I just ask that you please remember your own divinity and then embrace that path to freedom, joy, and whatever it is that you want to do to co-create this beautiful world aligned with love. And I'm so grateful, Michael. Thank you.
So well said. I too am grateful. Take care of the next week.
Yeah, until next time, big love to you and peace out. Take care.